What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Blakeney, aka Brandon Lee TV, back at it again with the Dukes of the Gridiron podcast. Got my guy Nick Cousin back at it, not your uncle. Third appearance on the show, second or third. It's been a few of them so far. Happy to have you back, my guy.
And you already know, man. I mean, we talking Caitlin Clark, man. Some
Bro,
big news today, big news.
Bro, breaking. If you've been under a rock, tune in. So we got the news. Caitlin Clark made the announcement that this will be her last season at Iowa, foregoing her COVID year. And obviously, the cat is out the bag. The Indiana Fever already taking full advantage. Nick, having the inside scoop, man. What did you hear about this decision? How did we get here on a random Thursday, the last day in February on a leap year?
Yeah, it's coming before their senior day, which is their next home game, Sunday against Ohio State, which is already going to be a crazy game. We'll talk about that later. But you think about who else's senior day it is. It's not just Caitlin's. You know, you have Gabby Marshall, Kate Martin, Molly Davis, who are also going to be honored before the game. Some pretty key role players around her that made this team successful over the years. So the assistant coach Jan Jensen, she works with the bigs, but she's the associate head coach, so she's has Lisa Bluter's ear.
Mm.
She told a bunch of other local media and reporters at state basketball today in Des Moines. The girls' high school tournament's going on right now, so she was there recruiting even after their game last night in Minneapolis, and she took time to talk to some reporters about it. And she said that her and Coach Bluter have talked to Kaylin multiple times, just as this gets closer, as as she breaks all these records and all these things,
Yeah.
and as the senior day game was coming up, they both were talking to Kaylin. They said, how do you want this to look when it comes to your senior day?
Right.
Do you want this to be, hey, like what you gonna do, make it all about, and kind of be all about Caitlin, versus if you do it now, a couple of days before the game, you're just kind of letting it breathe, let the news get out there, and then senior day can be all about, not just Caitlin, but the team, the seniors as a whole,
Yeah.
and kind of take the distractions away. Also, being a big game as well for seeding and going forward.
No, absolutely. And it was a heartfelt post that she had, just showing her love and appreciation from Iowa. Before I read it though, like, what's the initial reaction? What's the energy like around there? Like, I know you were kind of saying last time you were on, like, you wouldn't be surprised either way.
Oh yeah, I think it's been received pretty well so far. I think a lot of people have kind of seen it. As we get closer, they've kind of seen, like, maybe she's gonna go now, especially because she got this NCAA scoring record. She set the women's basketball record now, passing Lynette Woodard, who had the all-time record, and now she's, by the end of this, she's gonna have Pistol Pete's probably as well, only
Yeah.
needing only needing about 27 points for that. So you just kind of think, and then you think just about all the other records she's broken as well. And other than getting a national championship game, what else
Right.
does she have to prove on the college level? She had the Final Four last year. She's in the national championship game. I mean, there's nothing else she has to prove. And what would another year do if her just scoring 1,000 more, like, 1,000 more points? Maybe, who knows? But
Right.
that's maybe an exaggeration. But what would be the point of that? I mean, she's already got the record and all these other things. So why not leave now? Perfect opportunity. And there was a couple articles out that I've already seen, like Jeff Goodman retweeted it from Darren Rovell,
Mhm.
who was saying it was kind of a bad decision because she's going to lose money. You're not going to lose money. She's going to get all those. She's going to get all those sponsorships that she already has to come with her. Plus, being in Indianapolis, where the Fever will have the number one pick, five
Right.
and a, 5.5 hour drive from Iowa City. You don't think the state of Iowa is going to come support her every game, and there's not going to be fans there? I mean, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, she's right down the street for them. They packing games on the road. They going to Nebraska and Ohio. They definitely gonna show up in Indiana.
And you're talking about more seats. You're talking about NBA arena up in there. So they're going to be filling that place to the brim.
Yeah, man, and I know like two things that you said. Well, one, I know she had the heartfelt message, and I'll kind of read a bit of it just because it is kind of long, but it was, you could tell, man, like how much the university and just the state means to her for real. Um, so Caitlin Clark released this on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, announcing her decision. Quote, while this season is far from over and we have a lot more goals to achieve, it will be my last one at Iowa. I'm excited to be entering the 2024 draft. And I mean, it goes on. It's kind of long, so y'all should definitely go on and check out the rest of it. But that was the lead. It was kind of like, well, everything else after that is just like a big thank you to everyone that's pushed her to this point. When you initially saw the news personally, like what was your reaction? Because I know you texted me, you told me, so I was looking at my phone like in real time, like, bro, really? Like just today out of all days? But it does make more sense now that once you explained like the perspective of her not wanting to take Sean away from everybody on their senior night.
And that's just what makes her such a great teammate. We've seen that throughout the whole year. Even when she's struggling on the floor scoring points, she's not afraid to dish it, leading the country in assists like we've talked about as well. So that just shows how great of a teammate and person she is as well, to not steal the spotlight from her other teammates on a day that also belonged to them and not just her. But yeah, no, Iowa, like they're going to support her. She's from Iowa, as we all know. That's a big reason why she wanted to go to Iowa and play basketball there and just leave a legacy, leave some type of belief going forward for any other Iowa girls that want to pursue the same thing, or even just all girls basketball players in general. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just the impact that she's made on the game in general. She's leaving it in a great place when she's going pro, and now I'm excited to see playing with the best players in the world how that's all going to go, and especially playing with another uh, you know good big that she can give a lot of assists to, in Aaliyah Boston.
Bro, her and Aaliyah Boston are gonna be so official. Like I watched Indiana this year, and like Aaliyah Boston had a really good year. Obviously, won Rookie of the Year, but they desperately need a guard that can run the pick and roll and get her the basketball. Like because she can shoot it. She's big down low, like she's a monster. But her and Caitlin, that's gonna be a very exciting 1-2 punch. But it is getting crazy in the WNBA with these super teams. I mean, we're seeing Seattle load up. The Aces aren't going anywhere. Sabrina and Stewie out there with the New York Liberty. Like, it's a lot going on in the WNBA. But I know, like, speaking of records, I know Clark is chasing Pistol Pete's record still. And I found this clip of her and Coach Lisa Bluter talking about Lynette Woodard, who has the most points, like, overall in women's college basketball, they talking about, the record that should be looked at as well. They had some strong opinions on that. We've heard Pearl Davis get mentioned as well out of South Carolina. She's chasing Pistol Pete, like all these just all-time greats. Just looking at it as her chasing these records in her own way, in her own path. What do you think this is saying about her legacy as it closes out?
Oh man, she has to go down as one of the best of all time, if not the best.
Mm,
Think about it. I've heard Jay Williams. There's been some other analysts that said she can't be the greatest of all time unless she wins a national championship.
yeah, that's
Which
tough.
that's tough. I mean, you even look at some of the best coaches of all time; they haven't won national championship games.
Mm,
I mean, I went to Kansas. You mentioned Lynette Woodard; she went to Kansas as well.
okay.
But Kansas, you just mentioned in general, like Bill Self. Look how many wins he has. How many national championships? Just two. Like it's so hard to win national championships. So for that to distinguish one player, especially in such a team sport,
Mm-hmm.
you can't say that that makes somebody the greatest of all time if they didn't win a national championship. If you're talking about individuality, it's definitely just numbers and those types of things and records broken. So I understand the argument, but that is
Yeah,
kind of that's a really really like impossible task
it's
that we're
tough.
talking.
It's tough, like you said. It's a team thing, and she got to a national championship. She just ran
Exactly.
into a juggernaut. What
Exactly.
I'm saying? It happens. They're in the fighting for one. She still may get one.
What's
South
going to be tough
Carolina.
though? It's going to be tough though. I just saw the
Uh,
projections
yeah.
uh, from the bracketology on ESPN, and
Mm.
right now they're the 2 seed in South Carolina's region. So even to get to the Final Four, you have to beat South Carolina in the Elite Eight. That's going to be tough.
You do not want to see them in the Elite Eight. You don't want to see them before the Final Four. Like, because after a game against them, it's like, how much are you actually gonna have left? That's emotional. That's a physical toll, man. That's a beast they got down there in Columbia.
And I don't think South Carolina's losing a game anytime soon.
No, man, no. And like you said, they're projected a 2 seed right now. They still have that big matchup with Ohio State, who recently just clinched the Big Ten. So, like you said, Nick, everything's running through Ohio right now.
Oh yeah, and I know last night Iowa talked about this after the game. After 21 made threes against Minnesota, just
Mhm.
absolute dominance.
Yeah.
And not just Caitlin Clark. Everybody was getting involved. Everybody sharing that
Letting
sugar,
that
getting
thing
those
fly.
buckets. But they were all saying that seeing Ohio State win right before their game fueled them to just go out and have a performance and kind of finish the season strong. A lot of the players mentioned it. Caitlin Clark mentioned it in the post game. Gabby Marshall as well mentioned it. She's one of the big kind of 3-point shooters on the team,
Mhm.
leader as well. That kind of motivated them to see Ohio State win the regular season title, knowing that they could easily have a rematch with them for the Big Ten tournament title. And you pass them and you beat them in the Big Ten, you're probably getting that last 1 seed because you can't take Ohio State off the 1 seed line. But if you can beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship and to end the regular season, that's 2 wins against them in a week and a half stretch right before the tournament. That could get you that last 1 seed. That can get you out of that
Yeah.
that death region we're talking about with South Carolina.
No, absolutely. And if it's even close for Iowa, that new contract with ESPN, they getting that bump. If it's even close, Iowa getting that bump, man. We want to see Caitlin go as far as
Oh
possible.
yeah.
So they definitely getting that bump if it's close, man. They will get Ohio State smooth up out of here.
That's gonna be a crazy game as well because I also sent you the ticket prices for that game. That's the most
Bro.
expensive women's game of all time. I'm talking not just college, WNBA, other professional games of all time. The
Jeez.
get in price $509.
Bro, that's rent
Get
for
in
some
price.
people.
Get in price.
That's a car payment. Oh my goodness. 509. Where is it? Is it at home for y'all? Is it at home for Iowa?
It's in Iowa City. Yep.
Ooh, standing room only.
Yep. Yep. And how their arena works is you walk in and the stadium's like down in a bowl. So I bet you people be standing on the concourse trying to look down. Like that place
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yo, how is the student section? Do they have trouble getting tickets?
The it this is kind of this has been a long debate because it's a facility that hasn't been updated in a long time.
Mhm.
And this is we've seen all like the court stormings and stuff
Yeah.
on both sides, men's and women's side. You're
Mhm.
talking about this year with Caitlin Clark after the Ohio State game, but their seats are not like their student seats are not right on the floor or close to the floor. There's a huge like gap area for like wheelchair
Mhm.
and other disability people right behind like the baseline and the baskets,
Mhm.
and that goes like a couple rows deep before you even get to the stands.
Okay.
So sometimes it doesn't feel like the environment is that
Right.
popping all
Because
the
the
time.
crowd isn't exactly on
Yeah,
top of you.
because the crowd is not necessarily on top. I mean, it does get loud, especially during the women's games when it's sold out in there. Like you can hear how loud it is,
Mhm.
but there's just some atmospheres where it's like behind the
Yeah.
basket, like the fans are. You're watching the free throws, you can see all the
Yeah.
signs.
It's more intimidating.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little more intimidating. With Iowa, they haven't updated it yet, so it's kind of like the seats are pushed back. So sometimes it kind of seems a little empty in there sometimes.
What do you think about having that home court advantage? Last game to play Ohio State, like they've clinched it, but you're still playing for that 1 seed. You're still playing for momentum to get into the Big Ten. What could this game mean to Iowa and that community?
Oh, a lot. I mean, it certainly helps that this is at home for them. Um, it's looking like if you're in that top 16 rankings
Mhm.
of teams, you're gonna host that first weekend of regionals. So Iowa's looking like they'll secure that either way, no matter what happens
Mhm.
on Saturday, being a top 16 team. So you get two more additional games at home as well in the tournament. So just to go into momentum into the Big Ten tournament,
Right.
get that double bye in the Big Ten tournament, which is huge. You get those extra 2 days of rest on top of the rest you have going in those couple of days. Um, it would be massive. It'd be huge. To kind of have those give those fans that experience going in and giving your fans some faith going into the even more important games going forward. That hey, like this is not over. Caitlin
Mhm.
Clark she still has another chapter of that story to write. She didn't say the end yet.
Nah, absolutely talk. Absolutely. Man, I mean, it's just like, Hollywood, you couldn't draw it up better, man. You got a ranked, top two, top three Ohio State team, top 10 matchup we got here. Caitlin Clark's last game at the crib, scoring record on the line to pass Pistol Pete. Senior night for a lot of these girls, like you said, this roster has been together. Iowa isn't crazy in the transfer portal. They recruit and keep a lot of these players together, man. This is like what the most winningest class in Iowa history, I'm assuming.
Oh, but yeah, between the last 2 years, that's far and away, the most. Um, and yeah, I mean that just speaks to this team, playing, going through the hard times. Especially Caitlin. She started out, and Kay Martin, and all these seniors really started out in their first year was the COVID year. So
Oh,
you're only playing in front of your parents. Not even, and that's what Iowa did. But a lot of these other teams, you're not even playing in front of anybody.
right.
But so just kind of see the build up to it. you know COVID year, you come in and it's like you can't really get behind it because it's like no one's really there. But and just see it build up. Last year you had the sellouts. This year you've sold out every game. They're selling out other arenas this year
Yeah.
for other teams that never had sellouts before. It's just, yeah, it's a good time right now for Iowa fans.
What's like just talking with Coach Bluter and the staff, like, what has been their vibe so far, just going through this kind of winding down. You're also like, you got to stay focused, obviously, but you're also seeing like there's never going to be another Caitlin Clark that walks through those doors either.
Oh yeah, no, it's. I mean, they'll give their little coach answers like, we're just living in the moment. We love the moment for Caitlin when she breaks all the records, like,
Mhm.
and you could even see, there was a lot of pictures that came out, the record breaking night, when Caitlin's watching the video up on the jumbotron. Lisa Bluter's just looking at her like with a huge smile, and everyone's like, I want somebody to look at me like Lisa Bluter looks at.
The
But
internet
so
undefeated.
yeah, but the coaches just love those moments. The teams love those moments for her. But just going forward, yeah, like there's still a lot to accomplish. I mean, you didn't win the Big Ten regular season.
Yeah,
Going into the year in the preseason, you were projected to win the Big Ten, so that's already one goal that wasn't accomplished. So what you have next? You have beat Ohio State, then you want to win the Big Ten, then you want to have that number one seed probably going in. Those are probably the next three goals. So you don't get the one, but the next 3 out of 4 is probably the best that you want. And so
facts.
especially like the senior day decision to make this WNBA draft announcement before that, it just goes to show that this team wants to focus on the team.
Mhm.
It's no longer about Caitlin anymore. She broke the record. She announced what she's going to do. It's time to just focus in now on these important games as a team.
Definitely playing chestnut checkers with the decision,
Yeah,
like you said, man, getting it out of the way. Now there's no pressure, no emotional, you know what I'm
and
saying?
also, like, I don't know if you watched the Indiana game last week, but
Yeah, got
man,
their
that,
doors blown off.
that was rough. I mean, Kalen only had 8 made shots that game, 24 points, and
Yeah,
that seems like a lot for somebody, but not for her.
yeah, they had her
No,
in that
she's
box.
putting up 30. So to have a couple of bounce back games against Illinois, Minnesota, kind of hit your stride again going into another important game against a ranked team when it was really looking kind of doomy and gloomy. there against Indiana, and you're getting everybody else involved now. The benches come up really big, and that the rest of the starting five has come up really big these last two games against Illinois and Iowa, scoring over 100 points
Yeah.
games as well. And then a crazy stat to bring up to you this season after losing a game,
Uh,
Iowa averages 103 points.
Ooh,
So
wee.
and you
Hey,
saw you saw it against Illinois,
they
Minnesota
came out
back to back.
swinging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're hitting those three balls like they
Hmm.
did against Minnesota because Ohio State you have to deal with Cody McMahon and
Right.
she stretches the floor. Like I was telling you, I didn't even know she had
Yeah. She
a
got
game
that jumper.
because against Iowa the last time she was just pounding it in. But
Yeah.
so she's gonna bring the defense out. So Iowa's got to make those outside shots because if they try to go down low, you don't know what's gonna happen. So if they can make those threes again and get everybody else shooting the ball other than Kalen, I think they could make it close or even win the game.
I know a lot of the blame for that Indiana loss that I saw went on Caitlin. They were saying, she was out there chucking and she goes on these cold streaks where she tries to shoot herself out of and she can shoot them out of games. They were saying she wasn't trusting her teammates enough. They weren't getting opportunities. And then the next two games, she comes out, like you said, gets everybody involved, gets those triple doubles. Did you see a change in that? Like, I mean, obviously she's played with these girls forever. So not to say she doesn't trust them or she isn't trusting them, but like, what do you think changed to help her, get them more involved in these last two games?
I think it was just I think she was just feeling a lot of the pressure. Usually, I mean, the same thing happened in the Nebraska game as well down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
What you alluded to about how she kind of was trying to take the game into her own hands,
Mm-hmm.
shooting a lot of shots that and wasn't making them. I think it was just a lot of the pressure of just the moment.
Yeah.
And I think and that kind of puts this decision a little bit as well. This draft decision, like it was probably a lot weighing on her, even though she wouldn't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now she can kind of just go in playing free. Like she's like, I already know what I'm doing next. Now it's time to get this, be back in the moment, get these wins, get these important wins.
Yep.
Deliver. Even put more onto my legacy that I already had. Because yeah, like you were saying, the Indiana game probably, she probably could have got the teammates involved a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen her do that a lot of times this year. Like if she's not having a good game, she usually gets her teammates involved, which is
Yeah.
why she leads the nation in assists too. Like
Right.
not just points.
Mm-hmm.
I just think those games, just the magnitude of them, like the Nebraska game, that was going to be a really bad loss if you lost that. Indiana,
Right.
you're at Indiana against a ranked team. You already beat them once.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to beat a team twice, especially in conference play on their home floor. And when the Big Ten is just so hard to win on the road, like it's
Yeah.
insane how like there's just been like unranked teams beating ranked teams on their home floor this whole
Yeah.
year.
It's a gauntlet.
And so I just think I think she can play free now, kind of
Mm-hmm.
on this last stretch because she already has a scoring record out of the way,
Right.
already has this decision out of the way now. So, I mean, you know, if I was her, I'd be like, okay, wow, I can go in now. I can be me, and I know based off how my teammates produced these last two games, especially against Minnesota, it's like, hey, like we're all feeling it right now. We're all
Yeah.
we're all we're all ready for this postseason to hit. We're all ready to play our best basketball.
Yeah, it seems like going into this game now with Ohio State, now that the decision's made, she's declared that they are fully in postseason mode now. It seems like that's kind of the shift that's happening. They got this big game coming. You mentioned the Indiana game and the Ohio State game last time they played, and in both those losses, the post players for both those teams, the Hoosiers as well as the Buckeyes, got busy and were just causing all types of problems on the glass down low. Looking at this rematch with Ohio State, we mentioned Cody can stretch the floor. They've got J.C. Shelton, Celeste Taylor out there, a lot of talent Ohio State. But looking at that matchup, the keys to the game for Iowa, I think, they have to make shots like they have been as a team. because Caitlyn's definitely going to get a lot of attention. But I think the X factor really could be Hannah Stokey if she can really wall up down low and really own the paint and also just have one of those scoring outbursts that we've seen her be capable of.
Oh yeah, I mean Stelke, she's been that number two option for Clark all year. You know, Caitlin's fed her, and she can get up and down the floor, like like Drake said, 0 to 100 real quick. Like
Yeah.
she be getting down the floor, and with Caitlin's court vision. I mean, we talked about this I think all three times, but it's just so amazing. Like
Mm-hmm.
the court vision she has, just see her right off the rebound and just go full court with it down. I mean, that's how you're going to beat Ohio State with
Right.
all the bigs, because you got to tire them out getting up and down in the transition game, get those fast break points. Because as much as you're going to try to pound it in the paint, your
Mm-hmm.
paint points are going to have to come off the fast break opportunities. Because
Right.
if you wait too long, they're going to clog the lane, or they're going to try to stretch you out.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely, man. I'm excited for the game. Before we get out of here, any final predictions for that matchup?
Oh man, I mean, national TV. It's going to be on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Gus Johnson on the call again for the third
Whew,
time.
the legend.
So he's so speechless. The last game he was like, Caitlin, Caitlin, Caitlin. Like, so you already know he's gonna have some like legendary talk. And he even said like, oh, I don't even have a nickname for her. She's just Caitlin. Like,
First name only. You don't even need
it. Yeah, that's some respect right there. Gus Johnson doesn't have to give you a nickname. But no, it's going to be a crazy game. College game day is going to be there as well.
Oh man.
Al Duncan, Drea Carter, all
Oh,
them.
they bringing the women's night. They bringing the whole crew.
Like everybody going to be there. So it's going to be a big day
Yes.
in Iowa State, just in general. They were at this game last year, this last game of the year, which was against Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember that game, that was Caitlin Clark's buzzer beater to beat Indiana.
Ooh, yes, sir.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to foreshadow anything, but I mean, last
Hey.
time College Game Day was there, national TV game, afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, buzzer beater.
Hey, crazier things have happened. History tends to repeat itself.
So that's my prediction. We could see a buzzer beater. That's
Hey
my.
man,
I'll leave it at that.
hey, we will definitely be locked in for that one and have to have you on again next week after that game for sure. Because it's going to be a major one as they get ready for that Big Ten run. Nick, let them know where to find you at on social media, my guy.
If they watch the last video, you already know. If the Z not there, don't say it. NCOUZ. That's on Twitter, Instagram. Those are I'm on the most. You can find me on there a lot on Twitter as well, or X, whatever it's called now.
Whatever,
Like you don't know. We don't know. Some people still got the Bird app. Some people got the X app now. It is what it is.
the most pointless rebrand ever. I
Yeah,
gotta say,
exactly.
man,
But,
most pointless
yeah, so
ever.
that's people can find me at NCuz for all your Iowa and Hawkeyes coverage.
Yes, sir. Make sure to give my guy a follow. That's Nick Cousin, not your uncle, baby. Until next time, this is the Dukes of the Gridiron Podcast. We out.